Sahana Bhava Sahano Munaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we're quite well along in the study of Swami Chaitanananda's book, Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play. As Ima posted in the chat, the page we're on is 522. So Ima, if you would be good enough to read for us.
Do you want me to go back to a couple of lines before that, Brother Shankara, or just start where
just
exactly?
Start with Sarada. Sarala later.
Okay. Sure. Sarala, later Bharati Prana, recalled a journey with Holy Mother to Jairambati. When I went to Jairambati with the mother, the bullock cart jolted right and left and sometimes moved backwards. One day, I mentioned to Holy Mother, people are going to Varanasi and Vrindavan in such comfort, and how difficult it is to come to your birthplace. She replied, this is the way it goes, my child. A pilgrimage is always full of hardship, but the result is the same. Only 2 persons could travel in one bullock cart. I sometimes would get down from the cart and walk 3/4 of the way to Jairambati. Nowadays, how easy it is to go to Jairambati. Close quote. Jairambati was truly a remote village. And during the rainy season, people suffered from malaria and dysentery. Mail was delivered twice a week from the Anur post office. Once the Amuda River was flooded and mail delivery was cut off, Saradananda did not get any news about the mother for a long time. So he sent a man from Calcutta to Jairambati. When the man saw that Holy Mother was suffering from dysentery, he wrote a letter to Saradananda and posted it at the Kotalpur post office, which is 9 miles away. Saradananda immediately sent Dr. Kanjilal and Sister Sudhira to look after Holy Mother, and eventually she got well. We complain about even a little discomfort, whereas the mother endured many physical problems without disturbing others. She was the embodiment of fortitude, truly.
Can we just stop there for a moment?
Sure.
Holy Mother remarked on more than one occasion that when the Divine Being takes human form, they share all of our attributes. This illness that she was suffering, dysentery, that is no joke, dysentery. And the treatments for it at that time were, by today's standards, very primitive. So the discomforts that these divine ones suffer, and know they will suffer, what a grace for us. Any comments or questions from anyone else? Anything that you'd like to comment from your own wisdom or experience or your own concerns? Okay, go ahead, please, Haima.
Yes. Swami Saradeshananda left this eyewitness account of her motherly concern. The mother used to live in Jairambati like a daughter of her father's house. She wore no veil or parda here, and she talked with the people without hesitation. For that reason, her children flocked there to meet her. In Udbodhan, the monks and devotees served and looked after her, whereas in Jairambati, the mother was busy taking care of the monks and devotees. She collected the groceries, cooked the meals, fed the devotees, cleaned their eating place, and arranged their rest. Those who came from far away, she kept at her place at least for a couple of days. She was always anxious to make them comfortable. She inquired about their home and family, listened to their tales of joy and sorrow, expressed her sympathy and empathy, and gave them spiritual advice. She acted as a mother, a true mother. When the devotees were about to leave, she became sad and tears trickled from her eyes. She continued watching them till they were out of her sight. That picture of the mother remained engraved forever in the hearts of those devotees.
This is just...
Continue.
Hold on just a moment.
Sure.
It's
beautiful.
Holy Mother, of course, in this book is held up as an example for us, a model for us. Her sweetness, her servicefulness was beyond all understanding and compare. So all we can do is look to her and say, what can I do and be that somehow approximates this? Because there's great freedom in it, as the mother pointed out. There's great freedom in loving service. All right.
Okay, Brother Shankara. Holy Mother's daily life. It is amazing how the mother lived harmoniously with her young nieces, sister-in-law, the women devotees, and also the young monks and male devotees in the small living quarters of Jairambati. Although all were children, she kept an eye on the men and women devotees so that they did not mix or talk freely. Her male attendants and devotees stayed in the front cottage, and the women in the back cottages. During meals, the mother would call the men devotees, feed them and talk to them, but she did not allow them to linger. She reminded them, whatever we might be, my children, we have female forms. The mother made a special effort to instill monastic ideals in the hearts of her young attendants. 100 years ago, in 1915, the mother was still living in her physical body on this earth and lived in Jairambati and Calcutta. Though we were not fortunate enough to see her divine play, her disciples left their reminiscences for us. We can now visualize her daily routine, how she cooked and cut vegetables, what she ate, and what her favorite dishes were, how she talked to and initiated the devotees, how she dealt with her relatives and disciples, how she suffered from malarial fever and rheumatic pain, how she traveled by train and bullock cart, her meditation and ecstasy, and so on. It is natural for the devotees to know the mother's daily routine in Jairambati. Saradeshananda gave this eyewitness account. Early in the morning, the mother would get up, wake the master, and put his picture on the altar. After bathing, she prepared the things necessary for the master's worship, cut the fruits, and got the naivedya, which is food offering, ready. She then performed the worship and afterwards distributed the prasad to all members of the household. Afterwards, she went to the kitchen to help the cook. She chopped vegetables and even cooked some items. Some women devotees helped her. When the food was ready, she offered it to the master. As long as she was physically able, she distributed the food to the devotees and removed their leaf plates. Later, sitting on the veranda, she watched her children eat and instructed the servers to give more food to some of them. After lunch, she served them betel rolls. She loved to see the disciples chewing betel after a nice meal. Sometimes,
someone who knows, explain what is a betel roll. I don't think everyone with us this evening knows what a betel roll is. What is a betel roll?
It's a leaf. Basically, it's a pan leaf known as pan in India. It's available in Atlanta also in Indian grocery stores like Cherian and Patel and all those. And you put some kind of chuna means it's a calcium, and kat means I don't know what is the English equivalent for that. And then you put some spices, betel nut, that is supari we call in Hindi, and some spices, and there are lots of varieties of this pan, Calcutta pan, 120, and so on and so on. And sometimes they put some all those narcotic things also in that, bhang and other things. So all sorts of things are there, but there are lots of varieties,
Uh-huh.
And mitha pan means, typically it's a sweet. Typically it consists of some sweet things added to that. And they say that if you eat it after a meal, it really helps in digestion. And most people, after a meal, they like to chew that, and that does help in digestion.
Very good. Thank you, Sham.
Thank you, Shyam.
I mean, this is as far as I know. Maybe somebody knows more and better. I don't know.
Anyone else have anything to add to what Sham said?
In the
Shyam's face is glowing when he is explaining about pans.
Say it again, please, Shailesh.
Shyam's face is glowing when he said things about plants.
I still haven't understood what you said, Shailesh. I'm sorry.
He said Shyam's face is glowing when he talked about betel nut because
I
it
see.
is so common in India. Every
Very,
family,
very
mostly
nice.
every
Very
member of the family eats
So
it.
Sham was happy.
I get pan sometimes from Cherian, but I eat it just raw, just the pan, like a, But it does help in digestion, I believe.
Okay, very good. Well, now we know why Mother was happy to see her devotees chewing betel rolls, because they were good for them. And also, she had fond memories of the master, who also loved betel rolls. He chewed them. They leave your teeth a little red. All right. Please go on, Haima. Thank you.
She loved to see the disciples chewing betel after a nice meal. Sometimes she shared some of her food with her brother's family. After lunch, the mother cleaned her teeth with tobacco powder and answered the questions of the devotees. Then she would go rest. Swami Saradeshananda recorded what Holy Mother generally ate in Jairampati. The menu was like the menu of an ordinary middle-class family. Breakfast, puffed rice, puffed rice. Lunch, rice, urd dal, poppy seed curry, a hot vegetable curry, chutney, and sometimes spinach, and another vegetable dish, boiled vegetables, a fried dish, occasionally fish for the devotees. Previously, the mother used to cook and also serve. Later, she instructed her attendants about how to set the leaf plates and asanas properly. That is, maintaining equal distance from one another and an equal water level in all glasses. When the food was ready, she called the monks and devotees to come and eat so that flies would not sit on the food. If anyone was late, she waved the corner of her upper cloth to drive the flies from the food. She joyfully watched her children eat and asked the server to give more to some of them. Supper, chapati, a type of flatbread, a vegetable curry, milk, and molasses. The mother used to make the dough and flatten the chapatis. When the food was ready, she offered it to the master and then covered the dishes so that they would remain warm. Some evenings, Aunt Bhanu would massage the mother's feet. If she was tired, she would lie down on the veranda and ask her attendant to rub garlic oil on her legs. When the disciples had finished their japa and meditation, the mother called them for supper. The mother protected the food with a stick so that Radhu's cat would not eat it. There was an oil lamp flickering on the dark veranda, and the mother sat with her back against the wall and her legs extended. No one knew where her mind roamed in that silence. The mother was very concerned that the monks and devotees in Jairambati not suffer from lack of food. The mother first fed the men devotees in Jairambati, and then she ate with the women. If any monk went to run errands, she did not eat until he returned, even if it was late. Some devotees sent money regularly to Holy Mother for her living expenses. Saradeshananda described the Holy Mother's spirit of detachment. The mailman came with a money order. The mother affixed her left thumb impression on the receipt, and someone attested it. Left thumb impression of Sri Sarada Devi. Then the mailman counted the money and handed it over to the mother, who put it in a box in her room. She then gave some refreshments to the mailman, talked to him a little, and bade him goodbye. No one knew who had sent the money or how much. Later at her leisure, she gave the money order coupon to her attendant and asked him to write a letter of acknowledgement with her blessings to the sender. If the attendant received the money order, she asked him not to count the money, saying, "My child, the tinkling sound of the coins generates greed in the minds of human beings. And the money has such power that even a wooden doll opens its mouth to take it." Isn't that true? Sometimes. Swami Gaurishwarananda recalled, the mother managed her living expenses, but she never had much money on hand. She opened her box and gave me money for marketing. She would give me almost all the money in the box and say, "Buy 1 rupees worth of oil, 1 rupees worth of flour, 2 rupees worth of ghee, and so on." I said, "Not that way, mother. Let me write down what you tell me. Then I shall buy the things by weight. 5 seeds of one item, 2.5 seeds of the other, and so forth." Be more economical. It will be more economical. Delighted, the mother said, "My son, buy things according to your calculation. I don't know how to calculate money that way." At times, when all the money was spent, she would say, "Well, Indu will be sending money in a few days. Then we can buy things in large quantities." Indu, a raunchy devotee, used to remit 15 rupees on the first or second day of every month. The devotees often present.
Hold on just a moment.
Sure.
We can see that Chaitanananda is trying to give us a very intimate and detailed portrait of the mother and her way of life, so that can live in our hearts. It's such a excuse. so that Mother can live in our hearts. The more we know about someone, the more intimate our sense and feeling of relationship with that person is. And that's why the Swami is giving such detailed accounts. It's for those of us who wish to have this relationship of this relationship of kinship with the Mother, so that we have lots of things to think about. How she cooked, how she served devotees. All these things can pass through our minds. And of course, it's very auspicious for us to think of the Mother in this way. And over time, as we do, our love and relationship with her grows. She is still with us in subtle form, as is the Master. And the more we study their lives, read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, for example, or study this book or other books about the Mother, the more opportunity we have to pull these things into our thoughts and replace lower samskaras, lower ways of thinking and things we think about. So this is why it's so good that we're doing this on Tuesday evenings. Each of us who wishes to can form this profound mental image, this interior portrait of the Mother, and bring it to mind. So it's not like there's anything compulsory about seeing her as a model, but it's easy when we come to certain things in our own lives to bring this to mind and just say, yes, this is auspicious. This is the way that the Mother taught us. So any comments or questions about the Mother and her way of life and our relationship with her?
Brother Shankara, I want to add some of these things, some like making chapati, we still do even today. Some of us, not all of us, but some of us still make chapatis. And if we go into Indian villages, or even when my parents were living, many of our parents, I could speak for my colleagues here, my parental age people, they always waited for dad to eat first, and then they would feed children and dad, and then mom would eat. This was like a traditional thing in many, many families back in those days. But now things have changed quite a bit, but some of the samskaras went down a little bit. And it may be because of the way of life has changed in the world around us. But a lot of food making, waiting for dad to come home and eat, feed him first, and then mom eats. That was like a traditional thing almost.
Yes, it was very much a traditional thing.
Very much. And then when uncles or aunts come to our houses, always if we have a servant or we could hold a towel, when they wash hands, we hand the towel. That's kind of a respect. We were all trained, many of us here in this here. I'm sure they agree with me. Many families we have done that all along life. We were taught to do those things. And I can see, it took me back to my childhood almost when I'm reading. It's just reflecting how I used to do things. And I know many families would say yes for that, definitely.
Yes, and there's more than one way of being with these ideas in our minds. As we read Swami Vivekananda, he advocated that women be freed from this servant kind of role, that they become more equal in the equation. And for example, when he was with his women devotees, they all ate together. They didn't serve him first and then the women, and so on and so forth. And he said he decried, he spoke against privilege because it creates a structure in society. It keeps women subservient. And so this tradition is still there. I have observed it in Indian homes where I've visited for meals, that the men are all served first and then the women eat. Well and good. I mean, there's nothing compulsory about this. This is not dogma either way. But there is, as you just pointed out, Haima, there has been a movement toward greater equality and freedom between the genders. And Swami Vivekananda said, the bird cannot fly on one wing. And so he advocated strongly, I mean, really strongly, he advocated for the equality of women. And so you've seen that reflected here in remarks that have been made over time in different talks and classes and question and answer sessions. That, for example, in a marriage, it's not just the responsibility as it used to be traditionally. It's not just the responsibility of the woman to make sure the marriage works and the man is free to do as he pleases, and she has to live with it and deal with it. And that is emphatically not the spirit of the time, according to Vivekananda. Any comments or questions about that?
Brother Shankara, I think Holy Mother saw that everyone ate. I mean, she made sure that everyone was served with food and other things. She did not forget anybody, or she did not treat anybody higher or lower. She made sure that each and every one, whatever time he came, he was given proper treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very important, I think. I don't know whether they do it now. Today's time, it's not possible to do all those kind of things anywhere. I mean.
Well, I think there are some families and some groups of people that are more traditional than others in these regards. But certainly, in the spirit of karma yoga, you would deal with each and every person who comes into your presence who needs any kind of service. You would treat them as the divine being, and made sure that they were fed or cared for or whatnot. This is what Sri Krishna calls living sacramentally. And that kind of selflessness, that you would make sure they were fed properly before you took food yourself, that there was enough for the guests or others who came. Made sure that that was true before you served your own plate. But it doesn't mean that you wouldn't all sit together at the same time.
I'm so glad you spoke up about that, Brother Shankara, because as the roles have changed, perhaps in those days is the men folk who went out and worked in the fields and came home tired, and that may have been the reason where they were fed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's being taken advantage of in some circumstances where the men folk don't do anything and still expect to be served.
Well,
And it is.
Yes, go ahead, dear. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying that it's nice that um, things are evolving where it's the gender roles are being recognized for what they are, and there is a move towards this equality.
And Swami Vivekananda and others in the order have spoken fiercely that the patriarchy must come to an end. That this business of privilege. I mean, Vivekananda spoke fiercely against privilege, and it is part of the evolution that's taking place. There's no doubt about it. The patriarchy is being eroded, and the really strong patriarchs are not all that pleased about it. Yes, I am. Yes to what you said. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, when I was growing up, I used to go and shop for my, whenever I visited my aunts, my dad's sister and my mom's sister, I would go and shop, when I was a kid, 4th, 5th grade, because the shops are nearby, and I would go and, the coins would jingle in my pocket. And I would balance, like this much this, and then once I grew up, then I started getting rupee notes and things like that. But I immediately felt connected with what's written here. And it is so simple, but yet so profound that it's amazing job Swamiji has done here, Swami Chaitananandaji, that, like you said, something simple explained so that it stays on your mind. And I felt so connected. I had tears in my eyes when I remembered all that and what mother would do with her attendants. And then they would say, we will wait for the money to come and then we will go and buy more. And that's what exactly my aunt would say. So, it's in a sense that you feel connected, that now it's been 100 years ago, now things are different, but it's very sacred to me, or holy, in that sense, very, very special.
Wonderful, wonderful, Shailesh. And that's exactly why Chaitananda has done. Such a thorough, loving, intimate portrait of the mother, so that she may live in our hearts, so that she may displace the things that were inauspicious from our own pasts. All right, that's what happened. As Swami Swahananda used to say, what's done is done. Let it go forward. And this is a way of us going forward into a more profound relationship with the divine presence in this seemingly humble, loving, caring human being of Sri Sarada Devi. Anything else from anyone? Okay, Karma, please read on.
Sure. The devotees often presented Holy Mother with delicious fruit, fancy sweets, and fine clothes. She accepted them with joy and blessed them. But this was only for the satisfaction of the devotees. She had no attraction at all for those things. the mother wore saris that were suitable for middle-class women, and she used them till they were torn. Sometimes she wore patched saris and distributed the new ones that she received to the poor and the needy. Oh. Surendranath Gupta, a disciple from Assam, wanted to buy a fancy silk sari for the mother. When she heard that it cost 80 rupees, she flatly refused to accept it. Realizing her devotee's eagerness, she asked her attendant to write to him, "If you want to spend the money, you should instead buy a piece of land that will serve the monks and the devotees." How beautiful.
Yes, 80 rupees in those days would have bought a piece of land.
A lot of money.
Thank you, Ima.
Sure. Holy Mother's new residence. In the early days of Holy Mother's ministry, she lived in a thatched hut that was located on her brother Prasanna's portion of the family land. Although Holy Mother bore almost all of the household expenses, she lived with her brother's family with great hesitation. One day she lamented, "I feel that I should take my children and live under a tree."
You know, this is the thing about the mother.
Yeah.
When she says something like this wasn't a whim. she meant this from the bottom of her heart. The complexities and difficulties of living with the family, as we've heard, as we've read earlier, were very demanding and sometimes very disheartening. Go and live under a tree.
Yes.
Swami Vivekananda had that same idea sometime. Take those monks and go live under a tree. Okay, Ima, please go ahead.
Okay, sure. As the number of her disciples increased, it became difficult to accommodate them. Moreover, Holy Mother needed freedom to conduct her spiritual ministry. Eventually, Prasanna's wife remarked, "Why is there so much tumult in my house? I don't like it." Prasanna said to Holy Mother, "Sister, it will not be possible for you to continue staying in this cottage. You had better arrange another dwelling place." As soon as Swami Saradananda and M heard about this, they quickly had the mother's new home built. How beautiful.
Is everybody familiar with the single syllable M? Swami Saradananda we know quite a bit about. But M had been very intimate with Sri Ramakrishna, and was the recorder of the incidents and conversations in the Master's life that became the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So he continued to not only work on behalf of the monks and the mother, but he contributed a considerable amount of money to the mother's support. So that's who M is.
I see.
So would you read that again, please?
Sure. Prasanna said to Holy Mother, "Sister, it will not be possible for you to continue staying in this cottage. You had better arrange another dwelling place." As soon as Swami Saradananda and M heard about this, they quickly had the mother's new home built. Beautiful.
Yeah, and you can go online and see the pictures of that house. It's quite a nice, though very simple. It was quite a nice place.
In 1915, a piece of land was purchased from her brothers at the southwest corner of Punyapakur. Keshavananda drew up plans for a residence composed of 4 mud cottages with thatched roofs. Construction of Holy Mother's new residence began in April 1915 and was completed in May 1916. The cost of construction was 1,900 rupees. M donated 500 rupees and Saradananda collected the remaining funds. Arupananda and the monks of Kolpara supervised the construction. After the residence was built, Holy Mother and Radhu lived in the main cottage, which was also used as the shrine. In this cottage, Holy Mother initiated many devotees and gave monastic vows to brahmacharis and sannyasins as well.
It's still revered. I mean, people, it's really part of pilgrimage to Jairambati to go to the mother's house. Though there's a temple there now and all that, people always want to offer their pranams. Their respectful, loving relationship to the mother's, that small place where she lived and did these things. Please go ahead, dear.
The hut adjacent to Holy Mother's cottage was her kitchen, and the opposite cottage was for her niece Nalini. Another cottage facing west was for the monks and male devotees. During the rainy season, the courtyard in front of Holy Mother's cottage became so muddy that it was hard for her to walk on it. Narayan Iyengar, later Swami Srivasananda, offered money to cover it with concrete, but Holy Mother objected, saying, "My son, it is not necessary to put concrete on the courtyard. The people will comment that we have a lot of money." After the mother left Jairambati, the last time for Calcutta, the floor of her cottage was paved with cement, but she never again lived there. The inauguration ceremony for the house was held on 15 May 1916. The monks of Kolpara Ashram bought the necessary supplies according to Holy Mother's instructions. But then a couple of wealthy householder devotees took control of the ceremony and began ordering the monks around. The monks were hurt and they did not come to Jairambati on the inauguration day. Holy Mother inquired about them repeatedly, but no one knew why they did not attend. When brahmacharis Rajan and Bharada later came with groceries for the mother, Nalini asked them why they had not attended the inauguration. They tried to avoid answering directly, but Nalini surmised the reason and told Holy Mother. Holy Mother also learned that those wealthy devotees were planning to take her to Calcutta via Garbeta instead of Kolpara, which was her usual route. She firmly said, "These are all self-proclaimed leaders. The boys of Kolpara maintain the center for me and the devotees. They do everything for me. Day and night, they do whatever I need. Sometimes they even carry devotees' luggage if no porter is available. Without any authorities, these devotees have hurt my boys' feelings with uncalled for remarks. X is planning my Calcutta trip via Garbeta, crossing rivers and canals. Who has authorized him to do so? The Kolpara boys are my right and left hands. Whatever others may suggest, I shall always travel via Kolpara." Holy Mother's reassurance uplifted the monks' spirits. Saradananda could not attend the inauguration ceremony of the new residence because he had to go to Varanasi and Vrindavan on urgent work for the Ramakrishna mission. On 25th May, he returned to Calcutta. Swami Arupananda wrote to Saradananda describing the inauguration and informing him of Holy Mother's wish that he come to Jairampati to see the new residence. On 2nd July 1916, he went to Jairampati and was pleased to see the mother in her new home. The mother now decided that her new residence, as well as Punyapakur and some other land, should be registered as an endowment for the goddess Jagadatri. The trustees of Belur Math would be responsible for its maintenance. On 6th July 19...
Hold on just a moment, time.
Sure.
Notice how the mother, had no acquisitiveness at all. Nothing. She did not see it as belonging to her. And also she was the actual head of the Ramakrishna Math and mission while she was alive. And so when she said, that this land, this property, these houses should be given to as an endowment to the Ramakrishna order and the Ramakrishna Math and mission, and that they should be responsible for it through the trustees in perpetuity. This just indicates how she was constantly thinking in terms of the benefit and how to safeguard against anybody trying to change the nature of this property that had been created for her. Again, this is something for us to think about. What do I mean, something for us to think about? In fact, nothing is my own. This is the higher samskara. We have this feeling of things belonging to us. The higher samskara is nothing belongs to me. It all belongs to the Master. And if you will, to the Master and Holy Mother, and to those who have continued to serve her. But it is very good for us to just hold this thought. However, again, there's nothing compulsory about it. It's just a more auspicious way to think than the I, me, mine way of thinking. So this again is an example of the mother making real for us, making actual for us, these principles that are taught in the scriptures. Any comments or questions about that?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
The principles and discipline exemplified by mother and inculcated by her, it still is evident in the Ramakrishna order. Starting with you, you see us off, when we used to come to the center, walking us all the way to the parking lot, waiting till we get in the car, back out and leave, and then sending us in Holy Mother's protective hands. It's just so, I don't have words, it's so loving. And then when we visited India, we went to many centers, and there was so much discipline. I mean, the larger centers had groups of monks who would come for the arati and the bhajans, and they all came at the exact time, and they would sit in such an orderly fashion, and those bhajans were so devotional. Then we went to one center near Trivandrum, and after the bhajan, when we were about to leave, I think the head Swami saw, they had gone somewhere, so when they returned, they saw us and then started talking to us and invited us into their dining room and sat down and had some tea and snacks with us. Overall, and when I see YouTube videos, Swami Sarvapriyananda, Swami Sarvadevananda, when they give the talks, just sit in a simple chair or stand at the podium. And there are other places where they make such an ostentatious display of, the whoever the head may be, and their seat is like a throne. And so, basically, I think it's Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Vivek Swamiji, the kind of examples they set. I'm so touched that the order is still following that.
Yes, and they're known for it throughout India. Their honesty, their sincerity, their humility. Of course, there are always incidents that show other tendencies. Human beings have tendencies, but the order continues to exemplify the truth and the truths that Holy Mother and the Master taught. And yes, we are one with them as we allow our thoughts to stay with them, as we promote the idea of being with them within our moment-to-moment consideration of what it is that we're doing and what's going on around us. So we'll leave it there for this evening. Just a little information for those of you who have been following along. The new medication that the doctors gave me just hit me like a ton of bricks. So that's why there's been a kind of quietness from here this evening, and why this evening at Arati I just sat with the devotees who came. There's, there may need to be some adjustment made, I don't know. But it's such a good team of doctors, and they're working so hard to make it right. But anyway, It's so good to be with you. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May you be safe. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our mother and father. And here's a Karma Yogi's evening prayer. Oh, dearly beloved, this night and all it contains is offered to thee, Om Swaha. The sleep, the dreams, the dreamless sleep, all actions and their fruits, all moods and projections, all feelings, all thoughts, all perceptions, all memories and reveries, all memories and reveries, all attitudes, aptitudes, and tendencies. May all these things mentioned, and all that might have been mentioned and were not, may all this be an offering to thee. Om Swaha. Thou, 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 thou. Thou, 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 thy will be done, thy will be done. Thy sweet will be done. This is thy machine. Thou art the operator.
Please take care of Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
And so until next time, dears.
Thank you, Brother.
See you.